Love lives here.
I got a question. You know what? We're going to play. We're going to play for a minute, okay? Yay, you ready to play? Yeah. I am too. Okay. So, on the count of 3, I want you to point to yourself. All right? It's really easy. It's not a hard game. But on the count of 3, I want you to point to yourself. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, look around the room. Where are your hands pointing? Where's your finger pointing? It's your heart. Danny's got her guns a-blazing. Everybody around me. Debbie's doing all this, right? Most of you are pointing at your heart, right? Did you notice where I was pointing? Weird, huh? Yeah? Yeah, really weird? Yeah, Allison's like, it was weird. It was really weird. Yeah, Allison. Kimiko, why was I pointing at my nose? Do you know? No? All right, awesome. So, this is an example of cross-cultural differences. This is an example of how, when we achieve a certain level of cultural competence, which I talked about in my email to you, which I know Griselda read, because she told me last night that she read it. Who else, along with Griselda, read the email that I sent out? All right. I'm getting better, but you know, when I open it later, I see that like 50% of the people have opened the email. Yet it is not the 50% in this room. So somebody's opening the email at home. So thank you to our beloveds at home for opening the email. I really appreciate that. So as I was mentioning in the email, that there is something called cultural competence and cultural fluency. So by me pointing to my nose or my face, the center of my face in this case, is a demonstration of what we call cultural fluency. The reason being is I lived in Japan for so long that when I refer to myself, I do it the Japanese way. That in Japanese culture, when we refer to ourselves, we point to our faces, because this is the center of who you see, rather than here in the States. Here in North America, we have a tendency to point to our chest because this is our heart space, where this is our face, right? Kimi. You would have pointed to your face. Yeah. I was like, really? Got you. Okay, yeah, all right. I was like, your mama didn't. Yes, if we were in Japan, Kimiko would have like gone straight to her face too. Okay, right? So this is how we... So the example that I gave you in the email was that cultural competence, an example of cultural competence, is maybe learning a few key phrases or key words so that you can express yourself in another language, so that you can express yourself or that you can have a very basic conversation. That would be perhaps an example of cultural competence, right? Whereas cultural fluency is really understanding the nuances of, the example here would be understanding the nuances of nonverbal communication, right, in a specific culture and adapting your interactions accordingly, right? So if you've ever lived abroad and you've lived abroad where they drive on the other side of the road, not the wrong side of the road versus the right side of the road, but the other side of the road, right? You know that the turn signals are on, and the wipers are on the opposite sides of the steering wheel. Yeah? And you also then, instead of looking left, right, left, you look right, left, right, because of where the traffic is coming from. So when I got back from Japan, the first month or so, I would signal, and my wipers would go, whoop, whoop. And I would signal again, and whoop, whoop. because it gets to be habit, because you adapt. I had adapted to something that was different to my way of being, but I had it had become so ingrained that even now I point at my nose, right? I have figured out the wiper situation, though, on the turn signals. And I do actually use my turn signals, by the way. Yay, thank you. Not everybody does, right? So today I called the topic DEI-O. DEI-O. Yep, okay, so that's one of them. The other one was Gloria in Excelsis Deo. Right, okay. So, but I called it DEI-O here because we have a lot of discussion happening around DEI lately, don't we? Yes, we do. And so I added the O. A lot of times we'll see DEI-J, but today I added the O. And the reason I added the O is the O stands for oneness. The O stands for oneness. Because in our faith tradition here at Centers for Spiritual Living, the way that we approach life, the way that we see the universe, the way that we see spirit, the way that we see God, the way that we see life itself, is that there is only one life. And as Constance said in her invocation, there's only one life. This life is God. This life is perfect. This life is my life now, right? So there's only one, because if in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that which God did not create was never ever created, then that means that there's only one. There's only one, right? And that all of us, all of life, all of creation is the manifest body of this one life. But as Ernest Holmes says, in this unity, there is a beautiful multiplicity. There is a great diversity. Because how else would spirit be able to know itself so fully and so completely unless spirit created countless numbers of creatures and planets and stars and galaxies, right? And cells and atoms and molecules within each one of us. How else could this divine being, this divine consciousness, this one consciousness that is the ground of all being, know and express and experience itself unless it created each one of us as individualized expressions of this one life, as individualized expressions of itself. It does so to know itself, to experience itself, to express itself more fully, more completely, more wholly. But everything, all of it, is included in the whole. Each one of us is included in the whole. Each one of us is integral to the whole. Integrity, integral, right? Each one of us is a necessary part of the whole. Without even one of us, we don't experience the whole as a total. We don't. Spirit still does, but we don't. But what we also know, so that when somebody passes away or makes their transition, that it is simply energy changing form. It is form, it is energy, it is spirit that has come into form, and then form returning to spirit, only for that to continue, which is what the little hook on the V is over there, right? It's spirit coming into form, and then form returning to spirit, and that process goes over and over and over again, because energy itself can never be destroyed. It just simply changes form. Yeah? All right. So each one of us here is a big, beautiful ball of energy, of love, of expression, right? Look around the room. No two people look alike. Even identical twins don't technically look alike. There's always something different. Somebody's got a mole somewhere or something, right? They have individual consciousnesses, right? It's not just like one automaton, right? So in this context of everything that's going on with diversity, equity, and inclusion being attacked on a regular basis, it's important that we talk about it. It's important that we understand it. It's important that we look at it. And we, especially as spiritual beings having a spiritual experience, right, in human form, we have the opportunity to really look at what is from a more holistic spiritual perspective. Okay? Good? So here on my screen over here, let me minimize this for a second. Let me move this over here. No. All right, beloveds there at home, here, we're going to look at this for a moment. So the screen here, how many of you have seen this this meme or this thing somewhat? Yeah? Okay. So on the left there, you see the word reality. Notice how many boxes that tall dude has, and you can only see his feet at the very top. Then the middle guy there, he can see the baseball game, no problem. And then the little guy, not only can he not see the game, he's standing in a hole. So this shows the inequity. This shows the current reality, perhaps, of the 1% is represented by, the guy up there, right, above everybody. A lot of folks are down here standing there in the hole, right? Then when we talk about equality, right, notice that equality means that everybody gets the same thing, right? So each individual gets one box to stand on. That's equality, right? But is equality fair? Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? Equality is fair in that everybody got their same thing, so that's all equal, so that's fair in that way, but it's not equitable, right? So in that sense, it's not fair, right? Because what is the purpose? The purpose is for everybody to see the baseball game in this, right? Not everybody to have a block to stand on. So then what happens here is the tall kid can see over the fence without any difficulty. The middle child there, still standing on his one box, can see over easily. And then you've got the small child there standing on two boxes, so now he can enjoy the baseball game too, right? This is equity. What that means is that there are either barriers have been removed or there have been policies and procedures put in place so that everybody can enjoy the fruits equally and fairly and justly. Does this make sense? Everybody can enjoy it. Everybody gets to experience it. There is no hindrance. So when we look at Title IX, for example, for NCAA, right? Title IX for women, right? Being able to play. And when we look at affirmative action, these are activities, these are policies that are there to repair or make amends or to correct past injustices, past wrongs, so that everybody is brought to an everybody is brought to an equitable place so that everybody is able to enjoy the benefits of what it is, right? And so these are necessary because the reality piece has been there for far too long, right? So this is what equity does. Justice takes it one step further. Justice means that the barriers themselves have been removed as you see here. The fence is now gone, and all three children can enjoy the game because there is absolutely no barrier in place, right? There's no barrier in place. So the system that was creating the inequity has now been removed altogether, and there is no need for support, right? There's no need for greater support. Good? We good with that? All right. So let me hide that there. Come back here. Hi, people at home. We as people, standing in our oneness, standing in our wholeness, remembering who we are, have, as this group of people, CSL, our people here, have not only the right, but the responsibility to increase our cultural competence, dare I say even get to cultural fluency, but at least increase our cultural competence so that we can work together to create an equitable situation for all, right? Because if we believe that you and I are one and the same, you and I are brothers, sisters, and siblings on this planet, that you and I have the same worth, the same values, the same value, the same right to life and happiness and joy, that is actually the who of who we are. You and I share this, that we are one in this understanding, we are one in this knowing, we are one in this affirming, so we get to be the ones to help make equity a possibility, to bring equity into existence. Then, once we're there, we get to lead the charge for justice. And these two can be walking the same path at the same time. They don't have to be separate paths or in a linear path. We can be walking these at the same time. Each of us doing our own individualized work of moving from a cultural appreciation, hey, I really like teriyaki meatballs, right? Or, ooh, that mac and cheese is delicious, right? Might not be my culture, but I can appreciate it, right? To cultural competence, which cultural competence in its fuller definition is the ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people from different cultures, different backgrounds, respecting their beliefs, their values, their norms. The goal is to be able to interact effectively and respectfully with people from different cultures. To then cultural fluency, which is the ability to understand, appreciate, and navigate different cultural contexts and perspectives, recognizing and adapting to cultural nuances and norms. The goal is to be able to interact authentically and effectively in a variety of cultural settings. And if you want that, open your email. If you want it written down, open your email. It's all right there, okay? So in so doing, in working to be culturally competent, right? Working toward cultural competence, we are working toward that equity. Because then we are able to show up in a way that takes into account our own biases, our own prejudices, our own culture, and to be able to see the differences, appreciate the differences, celebrate the differences, and interact with one another in such a way that we are all lifted up and celebrated together in a variety of ways. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Yeah, right? So I'm going to pause here for now. We'll come back, but I'm going to pause here for now. We're going to send it to the tables. And at the tables, I would love for you to discuss these questions. How has diversity enriched your life? How Do equitable policies and practices benefit everyone? And why is inclusion important? So these are your 3 topics for today. Choose one, start there. You may not get to all 3, that's okay. But let's have a conversation around these 3 questions. Good? A couple things I want to share with you here. So I love the conversation that started here. I think it's great. I think there's an opportunity for it to continue. Also, thank you. I can't stand this. I'm like seeing myself. That's like a funhouse mirror. Anyway, to continue, that you can continue the conversation, and it's important that we continue this conversation. And as I alluded to in the email, which Griselda read, that at the end of it, I mentioned that there are a variety of cultures. It's not just ethnic cultures, okay? There's a variety of cultures. And in fact, each one of us in this room and each one watching online is actually a multicultural being. You actually navigate cultures constantly. And so you do have already a certain degree of cultural fluency, okay? So what I'm going to invite you to do this week is I'm going to invite you to tap into that. But before I tell you how you're going to tap into that, let me explain what I mean. So at the pool, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sally and, oh my God, why is that doing that to me? I see you. Lou. Sally, Lou, and I go to the pool and we do aquamotion, all right? The pool definitely has its own culture. The group that's there at the pool has its own culture. We speak our own language. How many of you know what a bullfrog is? How many of you know what a shy line is? Yeah, right? You don't know what a shy line is, right? Right? We speak our own language, right? We have our own spots in the pool. We have our own territories. Heaven forbid you should be in the wrong territory, right? We shouldn't, I agree, but we do. we have our own tools that we use, right? We meet together, toys. Yes, we have toys that we use, right? This is a culture that's been created by the different instructors and by the organization itself, right? So that's one. Guess what? You're sitting in a culture right now. You're sitting here at Riverside CSL. I guarantee you, if you go to CSL in Claremont, or if you go to Agape, or if you go to one of the other CSLs around the world, it's not going to look like us, right? There'll be similar concepts. The overall idea is the same, but the way we do things, our culture here is very different. I'll also tell you, it's very white out there. That is a big difference in our community. And it is a difference that when I walked through the doors in 2017 and then I arrived in 2018, I knew I was home, that this was my people were here. Because I didn't look out and see a bunch of white faces. Hallelujah. Freaks me out, people. I've told you that before. Freaks me out. I know what I look like, but it freaks me out. Growing up in Hawaii, I didn't see that. This is what I saw. Look around the room. This is what I saw. The beauty, the richness that's already here, the diversity that's already here, culturally, skin tones, ethnicities, languages, food choices, LGBTQIA+, ages, all of it, jobs, professions, schools. You don't think there's schools? Ask Allison here about Duke, right? Oh, right? You don't think there's not a culture around a school, right? Schools have culture. So we interact with all these various cultures. And in our jobs, musicians have a culture. They speak a language all of their own. right? Whatever profession you are in or were in, guess what? You have some lingo there. You have some culture there. You have norms. You have policies. You have procedures. There's a sense of place. There's a sense of right and wrong. There is punishment and reward, right? All these are aspects of culture. So you're moving through culture constantly, and you're navigating it, and it's all within a larger umbrella of we live in the United States, we live in the West, right? So then the cultures continue to amplify and magnify. So your homework, and tomorrow, if you're seeing this at home, because you're not here, but tomorrow, here's your homework. Your homework this week is to make a list of all the cultures you belong to, all the cultures that you are a part of. Job, age, everything. All the cultures that you're part of. Vocations, hobbies. Photographers have their own culture, don't they, Marty? Right? So all of your occupations, all of your ideas, all of the groups that you belong to, make a list of them. Then look at what those cultures have in common, aside from you participating in all of them, right? What do those cultures have in common? What are their common values? And how are they different? What languages are different? What languaging is different? What ideas are different? What ways do you adapt yourself to be part of these cultures? Or are you able to be freely yourself in each of these cultures? So what you're going to do this week is you're going to become a cultural anthropologist of your own life. Right? You like that, James? Yeah, likes that. All right, so what similarities, differences, language, gestures, communication styles, customs, practices. This is your homework. And see where the intersectionality of all that is, aside from you being in all of them. Look for the intersectionality. Look for the commonalities. And look for the ways that we can celebrate those differences. It starts here. It starts with us. It starts with each one of us. And it starts inside. And so it is. So let's come together in consciousness. Recognizing right here and right now that there simply is what? How many? One. One life, one love, one power, one presence. One infinite eternal that is all, through all, as all, expressing itself in glorious diversity, yet not being diminished by it. Actually, it is expressing itself in unity as multiplicity, and it is beautiful, and it is glorious, and it is holy, holy, holy. And I know that each one of us is a divine individualization, a divine emanation, a divine impartation of this one life, of this one beauty that exists in, through, and out all of creation. Each one of us is imbued with and raised up and supported and guided and guarded in this one light, this one love, this one joy living as you and me. And so I know here and now that as we go forth from this community this day, we carry this culture with us and we go out into the world and we share it. We share it with one another, but we share it with our friends. We share it with our family. We share it with all those that we come in contact with. And we invite them in. We invite them in. We learn about who they are. We learn about our similarities and our differences, and we appreciate and we celebrate them. And we let each person know that they too are welcome here, that they too belong here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. And how good it is to experience this diversity, this equity, this inclusion that are all aspects of our oneness. And so we go forth this day practicing DEI, practicing oneness, practicing love. So I give thanks for all of it. I give thanks for the great expression of our lives, that we too may know ourselves better through our own diversity. Oh, how beautiful that is to breathe that in. And I release this word now, and so it is. And so let's share I invite everybody to stand. Let's say our affirmation together. Actually, I'm going to say it and let you repeat it after me. Here we go. Recognizing our oneness, I actively engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. Let's put it all together now. Ready? All right. Recognizing our oneness, I actively engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. Happy Sunday.